Cedric Wolfram had two secrets. The first, he once ate an entire Thanksgiving turkey in under 90 seconds. The second, and slightly more problematic, he was a werewolf. Not the cool, brooding kind you see on supernatural teen dramas. No, Cedric was more Midwestern divorcee with a Costco membership than alpha of the cursed forest. His transformations were messy. His fur came in like a rusty shag rug. His growl occasionally cracked like a teenage boy hitting puberty. And worst of all, his transformation pants kept tearing in the same places, right down the middle. He lived in Portland in a rent-controlled duplex with reinforced walls, blackout curtains, and exactly one roommate, a French bulldog named Judith, who judged him constantly. "Maybe I'm just meant to be alone," Cedric said one evening, sprawled on the couch in sweatpants with "moody but furry" written across the butt. Judith blinked at him with like a disappointed therapist. That night, after too many sips of chamomile ginger kombucha, he was trying to be healthy, of course, he saw an ad on his phone. Find your true match on Howl now. Real people, real connections, real love. He sat bolt upright, spraying kombucha onto his throw pillow. Howl now. The name couldn't be a coincidence. It was basically destiny. His people, his wolves, must have finally made an app. He tapped install so fast he sprained his thumb. Cedric tried to play it cool when he set up his profile. Username, Full Moody 32. Height, 6 feet, but really 5'10" without boots. 6'6" with ears up. Hobbies, hiking, meat prep, sniffing things. He meant spices, but left it vague. And for his about me, just a laid-back guy with a wild side, passionate about full moons, midnight snacks, and meaningful eye contact across misty forests. Looking for someone to run through the woods with, or, split a pizza. He uploaded some carefully curated photos. Him on a foggy trail with only half his transformation showing. Accidental mystery. A blurry selfie with the woods where he looked like a grumpy Chewbacca. One of him in front of a butcher shop captioned, "Support local." After 24 hours, he got a ping. "You've met your match. You've matched with Marissa, age 30, favorite activities, vintage shops, red wine, and aggressively judging cheese platters." She had wide-set brown eyes, a dry wit, and a scarf collection that rivaled an old librarian's. Cedric was immediately smitten. They started chatting. "So," Marissa said, "what do you really do? You look like you bite people for a living." "Only emotionally." "Ooh, that's hot. I like emotional trauma in a man." "Then you'll love my Spotify playlists." She was weird. She was witty. And she didn't ghost him after he accidentally sent a voice note with a deep, guttural growl in the background. "Yeah, that was a motorcycle in my kitchen." After 2 weeks of digital flirting, they met in person at a taco truck downtown. Cedric agonized over what to wear. He settled on a dark flannel that didn't quite cover the tufts of fur on his wrists and jeans that had been wolf-tested for durability. That's a lie. The crotch was reinforced with duct tape. She showed up in Doc Martens and a scarf with tiny embroidered possums. They hit it off immediately. She complimented his bone structure and laughed at his jokes, even when they veered into cryptid dad humor. The second date, a hike. Cedric forgot his deodorant and had to run 10 feet ahead so she wouldn't smell him sweating like a steamed brisket. Date 3, a horror movie marathon. She thought his yelp during the Babadook was adorable. Date 4, a cozy wine bar. He pretended to sip a Merlot while his inner beast desperately wanted to gnaw on the cheese board. One night after their 5th date, he sat in her apartment, curled up on a beanbag chair watching vintage vampire films. "You know," she said, nudging him with her sock-covered foot, "you're different. Like, not just Portland different. You're peculiar." Cedric's stomach flipped. "Peculiar how?" he asked, trying to sound casual while slowly sliding his claws back in. "I don't know. You're twitchy around squirrels. You never order anything cooked. And once I caught you sniffing my coat like it was a fine wine. You're not secretly a serial killer or something, are you?" He forced a laugh. "Oh, God, no. Ha ha ha. Just socially anxious and into aromatherapy." She smirked. "You're weird. I like weird." Cedric nearly cried into her throw pillow. Cedric knew he had to tell her. It had been 4 weeks. 4 beautiful, terrifying weeks of dodging questions, wearing anti-shedding undergarments, and sneaking out during full moons to howl his existential panic into a compost bin. He invited her over for dinner. He cooked steak, rare for him, medium for her, lit candles, and wore his best human clothes. Halfway through the meal, he set his fork down. "Marissa," he said, his voice shaking, "I really need to tell you something, and I want you to keep an open mind." She paused mid-bite. "You're not married, are you? Because if you're married, I will set you on fire." No, nothing like that. I'm a werewolf." Long pause. "No, seriously," he added when she didn't react. "Full moon, claws, hair, uncontrollable hunger. That time I said I couldn't go to your cousin's karaoke night, I was busy chewing my own leg to avoid chasing joggers." Marissa blinked, then took a sip of her wine. "Okay, so just to clarify, you are saying that you turn into a large furry beast every month and what? I'm sorry, what? Dig holes and pee on lampposts?" "Okay, one time with the lamppost, but yes, that's me." She stared at him. Cedric braced himself. He considered leaping out the window and fleeing into the night, but she spoke first. "You know what? That explains so much." "What?" "The growling, the weirdly intense love of jerky. That time I caught you sniffing a raccoon and you said you were checking the wind direction. I thought maybe you were just a very outdoorsy hippie." "So, you're not scared?" She leaned back, thoughtful. "Nah, my ex was into NFTs and CrossFit. You're the most emotional available person I've dated in 5 years. Even if you do shed in my sink." Cedric blinked. "So, we're good?" "We're great," she said. "Just don't expect me to follow you into the woods naked every month. I have eczema and no patience." He laughed, deep, relieved, just a little wolfy. And they kissed. Judith, the bulldog, barked once from her corner, unimpressed. 6 months later, they moved in together. She got him a dog bed as a joke, but he secretly loved it. He bought her a necklace with a tiny silver fang. Not actually silver, because he wasn't insane. Every full moon, she left him calming tea and noise-canceling headphones. Every morning after, she greeted him with a bagel and said, "Welcome back, wolf boy." He never did find out Howl now was actually meant for humans. But honestly, he wouldn't change a thing. It's been 6 perfect months. Cedric and Marissa had settled into an easy rhythm. He made breakfast, bacon always. She handled the laundry, delicately separating clothes from transformation casualties, and Judith, the bulldog, accepted her new pack member with quiet disdain. They were happy, but Cedric had noticed something was off. Nothing dramatic, just little things, like how Marissa never lost at hide and seek, even in the pitch dark, or how she once caught a fly with chopsticks, or how she always managed to avoid stepping on creaky floorboards, even when carrying 2 bowls of popcorn and 3 blankets. At first, Cedric talked it up to her being naturally graceful. Then came the raccoon incident. It was a Tuesday. Cedric came home early from work. He had accidentally growled at a client on a Zoom call again, and found Marissa in the backyard, standing perfectly still, eye to eye with a raccoon. Not looking at it, not yelling, staring it down. The raccoon chattered, backed away slowly, then bolted into the woods like it owed her money. Marissa dusted off her hands and went inside like nothing happened. Cedric blinked at the patio for a full 10 minutes. That night, after she fell asleep, he turned to Judith and whispered, "She's either got raccoon mafia ties or she's hiding something." Judith blinked twice. Then came the camping trip. Marissa had insisted they spend the weekend in the woods near Crater Lake. No phones, no Wi-Fi, just you and me and an unnatural number of protein bars. Cedric was nervous. He didn't like being off-grid unless it was a full moon and he was chained to a tree. But he agreed, partly because she looked so excited, partly because she'd recently started calling him Snuggle Wolf, and it short-circuited his brain every time. They hiked up, set up camp, watched the stars. Then, around 3 a.m., Cedric woke up to something growling. He bolted upright, fur already bristling, but it wasn't him. It was Marissa. She was standing outside the tent, barefoot, eyes glowing faintly green in the dark. Her pupils slitted. Her mouth moved, growling low, in some language Cedric didn't understand. It sounded like gargling gravel. And that's when he saw it. Her shadow. It wasn't hers. It was taller, leaner, with too many limbs. She turned her head, slow and smooth, and said, "You should go back to sleep, babe." "Yep," Cedric squeaked, zipping the sleeping bag over his head like it was armor. The next morning, she was making pancakes over the fire, humming Fleetwood Mac like she hadn't just whispered to the spirit realm 8 hours ago. "Sleep okay?" she asked, flipping a flapjack. Cedric stared at her. Yeah, did you? You, went for a walk, I think?" "Oh yeah, sometimes I sleepwalk when I'm out in the nature," she said breezily. "Something about the air." The glowing eyes? She shrugged. "Astigmatism?" He nodded slowly. "Right, of course. The classic glowy eye astigmatism." He wasn't sure what disturbed him more, the shadow creature or how good her pancakes were. 3 weeks later, Cedric couldn't take it anymore. They were watching TV on the couch, some ridiculous dating show where everyone had identical teeth. And Cedric paused the episode, turned to her and said, "Marissa, we need to talk." She raised a brow. "Is this about the last roll of toilet paper again? Because you used like 6 squares for one sneeze." No, listen, I told you my secret. I'm a werewolf. I've eaten a possum. I once accidentally howled at a baby. I've been honest. He took a breath. I think you're hiding something too. She went still, dead still. Not normal human still, but more like taxidermy display still. Finally, she sighed. Okay, all right, you've got me. Cedric's stomach twisted. I didn't want to tell you because I figured he's already a werewolf. Don't overload the guy. But yeah, I'm not exactly human either. You're not? He sat up. What are you then? Vampire? Dryad? Oh God. Are you one of those seductive lake spirits who drown people mid-makeout? She shook her head. Please, drown someone? Ew, I hate soggy clothes. She stood, walked over to the bookshelf, and pulled a dusty leather-bound journal from behind a copy of The Joy of Cooking. It was covered in odd symbols and what looked suspiciously like claw marks. I'm a shadowkin, she said simply. Half human, half something else. My mom was a human. My dad was a dimension walker with too many eyes and a fondness for jazz records. Cedric's jaw dropped. Technically, I'm a shadow walker. I can move through darkness, see things that others can't, and yes, occasionally chat with raccoons. She gave him a look. They are very wise. Uh-huh, Cedric said. They stared at each other in silence for a long moment. Then Marissa added, Oh, and I may have banished a lesser demon that was haunting your blender last month. You're welcome. Cedric blinked. Ah, that explains the burning plastic smell. She smiled. Are you okay with this? He opened his mouth, closed it, thought about it, then said, Honestly, I'm relieved. I was starting to worry you were just really good at Pilates. They laughed. A real laugh. Deep, warm, full of relief and cosmic weirdness. Then Cedric said, So wait, when you said you liked dark humor? I meant it literally, she said. The shadows tell great jokes. From that night forward, they became something more than just an odd couple. They were a team. The Shadowkin and the werewolf. He tracked things with his nose. She tracked them through dimensions. He howled warnings. She whispered threats to the darkness. Judith, as always, judged them quietly from her dog bed, dreaming of a simpler life with a normal couple who just watched Netflix and brought generic kibble. But Cedric and Marissa, they thrived in the strange. When they kissed under the next full moon, her eyes glowing green and his amber, they knew they weren't just in love. They were meant to find each other. Because nothing says soulmates like a shared appreciation for red meat, portal etiquette, and the ability to scare off Jehovah's Witnesses with a single low growl. The day began, as all great cosmic events do, with lasagna. Cedric had spent 3 hours making it, not because he particularly liked cooking, but because Marissa had said the words no werewolf ever wants to hear. My dad wants to meet you. Now, under normal circumstances, that would have meant an awkward dinner, forced smiles, and maybe a handshake that lasted 2 seconds too long. But Marissa's dad wasn't normal. He wasn't even corporal. I should warn you, she said, casually while folding laundry. He doesn't always fit. Fit? Cedric had asked, folding a sock in half and immediately sweating through his shirt. Like into this dimension, she clarified. Sometimes he kind of leaks around the edges. Cedric had blinked. Leaky dads. Got it. So there he was, in their kitchen, oven mitts on, lasagna bubbling, and a nervous sweat soaking through his beast mode but polite apron. Marissa was calm too. Too calm. He's just protective, she said, sipping the herbal tea as if her father weren't about to tear a hole in space-time in their dining room. Don't worry, he'll love you. And then the lights flickered. The walls pulsed. The shadows shivered like they'd heard bad news. Judith, the bulldog, gave a single offended bark and hid under the table. Then the ceiling split open, not physically, but conceptually, like the idea of the ceiling had decided to take a break. A single glowing eye blinked into view above the table, blinking sideways and diagonally at the same time. Then the voice came. Daughter, it echoed in Cedric's bones. Hi, Dad, Marissa said cheerfully, pulling out a chair. You're early. I have bent 3 time zones to arrive promptly. Cedric stood there, frozen, holding his oven mitts like they might protect him from whatever eldritch interview was about to begin. Father, Marissa said, gesturing to him. This is Cedric. He's my boyfriend. There was a long silence. The eye turned, like the moon turning its face, like the abyss deciding to pay attention. It landed on Cedric. This is the mammal? I'm also a mammal, Marissa reminded him gently. He smells hairy. Yeah, that's the lasagna, Cedric squeaked. It's meat forward. The shadows thickened. Cedric swore he saw tentacles twitch behind the spice rack. Then came the questions. Do you plan to hurt my daughter? No, absolutely not. If anything, I'm the emotional support animal in this relationship. Are your intentions pure? Well, I mean, we do share a Netflix account now. Have you ever wrestled a comet to death while crying? I've cried while doing taxes? Another long silence. Then, unexpectedly, the eye blinked slowly, almost fondly. He amuses me, it rumbled. Marissa grinned. I told you. I require more lasagna, he said. An hour later, that lasagna was gone. The pan had been absorbed into the void. The room smelled like garlic, ozone, and existential dread. Marissa's dad hovered lazily above the dining room table, flickering in and out of visible wavelengths. Judith had entirely merged with the floor and was now a shag rug. You have passed the test of the cosmic father, Marissa's dad said solemnly. Cedric blinked. There was a test? Yes. You did not melt, explode, or wet yourself. Most impressive. I mean, I almost... Shh. The eye rotated again. Treat her well, hair beast, or I shall unmake your toenails in reverse time. Cedric nodded so hard his neck cracked. Got it. Treat her well. No reverse toenails, solid boundaries. Then, with a swift pop, Marissa's father vanished. Just gone, like a bad dream and an overdue library fine rolled into one. The room returned to normal. Judith reassembled herself. The leftover garlic bread burst into flame spontaneously. Marissa stood, stretched, and kissed Cedric on the cheek. You did great, she said. Cedric sat down on the floor. Your dad is the reason light bends weird in the parking garages, isn't he? She nodded. Probably. Does this mean we're getting serious? She shrugged. You met the I. That's basically marriage in my culture. Cedric's eye twitched. Cool. Okay, cool, he muttered. So when do I get to introduce you to my parents? Marissa grinned. I cannot wait to meet the people who raised the polite werewolf who irons his jeans. Cedric exhaled, relieved, until she added, But if your dad says anything offensive, I will banish his soul into a sentient wind chime. Oh, okay, well, I guess that's fair. As it turns out, Cedric's parents adored Marissa, though they did ask why the living room clock weeps during daylight hours now. Marissa's dad sends blessings in the form of mysteriously appearing jazz vinyls and anti-gravity soup recipes. Judith still refuses to make eye contact with the spice rack. Love, as it turns out, conquers all, even when all includes ancient multiversal beings, glowing eyes, and lasagna baked in fear. The end.